everyone. We are discussing the glycine metabolism revision. I am Dr. Beena. So in the revision of glycine metabolism, we are discussing one essay and one 2-mark question and one 1-mark question. So the essay is mention the reactions by which glycine is synthesized and catabolized. Add a note on the specialized products formed and the disorders associated with glycine metabolism. So the split up of marks are 2 plus 6 plus 2, that is 2 for the reactions by which it is synthesized and catabolized, 6 mark for the specialized product form and 2 mark for the disorder associated with. Then primary hyperoxaluria, a 2-mark question, and normal serum creatinine level, 1-mark question. So glycine is the smallest of all amino acid and it is nutritionally non-essential and it is glucogenic and it is optically inactive because there is no asymmetric carbon atom. So in general you can write about this. Then here in this figure you can see an overview of the glycine metabolism, which are the products formed, etc. That is, it can be used for the synthesis of proteins. Serine can be formed from glycine. Oxalate is formed from glycine. It is a glucogenic amino acid, so glucose also can be produced. It removes ammonia and it is producing formate, which will go into the 1-carbon pure. And then purines, synthesis of purines, glutathione, heme and creatinine, it is used. And also for the conjugation reactions of the bile acid and some other substance. Now we'll pass on to the synthesis of glycine. So from serine, glycine is formed by the transfer of beta carbon to the tetrahydrofolic acid, and the alpha carbon is converted into glycine. Then the threonine. From the threonine aldolase enzyme is acting and producing the glycine. Then using glycine synthase enzyme, carbon dioxide, ammonia and the joins to form the glycine. Then from the glyoxylate, using the amino transferase enzyme, glycine can be formed. So we have to write in details about these 4 reactions where the glycine is formed. From the serine, by serine hydroxymethyl transferase, it is converted to glycine. That is, beta carbon is transferred to tetrahydrofolic acid and forming N5-10-methylene tetrahydrofolic acid, and the alpha carbon is contributing to the glycine. Then threonine, by the action of threonine aldolase, acetaldehyde is removed and glycine is formed. And from the carbon dioxide and ammonia, using this N5-10-methylene tetrahydrofolic acid, with the help of the enzyme glycine synthase, which is a reversible enzyme, the glycine is formed. Then glyoxylate, by transamination reaction, that is, glyoxylate combines with either alanine to form pyruvate and glycine, or glyoxylate combines with glutamate to form the alpha ketoglutarate and glycine, and then serine, glyoxylate combines with serine and using the aminotransferase enzyme, it is converted to glycine and hydroxypyruvate. So this reaction from glyoxylate to glycine is a aminotransferase enzyme. So the glycine is formed and the corresponding keto acids are also produced. So these are the 4 steps by which glycine is synthesized. And there is one more pathway, it's not very common, that is from choline you can synthesize glycine by the various steps. That is, first is it is converted to betaine aldehyde, then it is betaine, then dimethyl glycine, and dimethyl glycine is converted to sarcosine, that is methyl glycine, and finally glycine by removal of methyl group. That is another pathway, so you can mention that also. Now we'll pass on to the catabolism. Catabolism mainly by the glycine cleavage system, which is the reversal of glycine synthase enzyme, and that is NAD and tetrahydrofolic acid is used, and glycine is split into ammonia and carbon dioxide. Then the second one is we already mentioned that this glycine is glucogenic amino acid. So first serine hydroxymethyl transferase is acting and then serine is produced from glycine. Then the serine on dehydratase enzyme action. It removes water and ammonia and producing pyruvate. Pyruvate is a glucogenic substance, and from that glucose can be produced. Then third mechanism of catabolism is by transaminase reaction, that is glycine plus alpha ketoglutarate forming glutamate and glyoxylate. Then glyoxylate on oxidation will produce oxalate and it is excreted in urine. So that is the three important mechanisms by which the glycine is catabolized. So in that you can mention little more about the glycine cleavage system, that is the major catabolic pathway of glycine. This system is a multi-enzyme complex and it has got 4 enzymes: glycine decarboxylase and the methyl transferase and the methylene tetrahydrofolate synthase and the lipomide dehydrogenases, and these enzymes together called the glycine synthase. So synthase is a reversible enzyme. When it is carbon dioxide and ammonia producing, glycine is the synthase and cleavage, and it is converted to ammonia and carbon dioxide. So in this diagram you can see how glycine is converted to carbon dioxide and ammonia, that is so pyridoxal phosphate, lipamide, tetrahydrofolic acid, all needed here as the coenzyme. So it is used for the reactions. First carbon dioxide is removed where the enzyme is glycine decarboxylase, then it is converted to by the action of amino-methyl transferase and methylene tetrahydrofolate synthase, it is converted to ammonia, and in that reaction a lipomide is converted to reduced lipomide, and it is getting again oxidized to lipomide by the action of NAD. NAD is converted to NADH plus H, and that is by the lipomide dehydrogenase enzyme. Now we'll pass on to the specialized products formed from glycine, that is first is formation of purine ring. So C4, 5 and N7 of the purine rings are contributed by the glycine. So whole of the glycine is used for the formation of this purines, that is carbon number 4, carbon number 5 and nitrogen 7 of the purine rings are contributed by the glycine. Entire glycine is used. Then the biosynthesis of creatine, that is an important product in the body, so it is very important. So you have to write the steps of the synthesis of creatine in this essay. So creatine is present mainly in the muscle, 95% is present in muscle and rest is in brain or heart. And creatine constitutes 0.5% of the total muscle weight. And 3 amino acids are required for the formation of creatinine, that is glycine, arginine and methionine. So these 3 amino acids are required for the formation of creatine. Now we have to write the steps, that is guanidoamidino group of arginine is transferred to glycine by the arginine glycine transaminase enzyme to form the guanidoacetate. That is the first step where it is taking place in the mitochondria of kidney. Next step is methyl group is transferred from the S-adenosyl methionine to guanidoacetate to form the creatinine. So the guanidoacetate methyl transferase is the enzyme, and here the SAM is available from the methionine, amino acid methionine. It's a methyl group donor, S-adenosyl methionine. So methyl group is transferred to guanidoacetate to form the creatine that is occurring in the liver. So then what happens to the creatine? So the creatine, once it is formed, it is acted upon by the creatine kinase, where the ATP is hydrolyzed and forming creatine phosphate, that is occurring in the muscle. So here creatine kinase enzyme, you have studied creatine kinase isoenzyme, which is a cardiac biomarker, and here it is present in the muscle. the reaction occurs in the muscle. You know, creatine phosphate is the storage form of energy in the muscle. When the muscle contraction occurs, ATP is utilized, and then the hydrolysis of ATP occurs, and then creatine phosphate is formed. Then it is acting as a temporary storage, and whenever there is less ATP, creatine phosphate is again converted to creatine by the creatine kinase enzyme. So that reaction occurs in the muscle, that is called the Lohmann's reaction. So after that, the creatine can be converted to creatine phosphate, and creatine phosphate on a non-enzymatic hydrolysis, it is converted to creatinine. Creatinine is a cyclized form, and it is anhydrous form. So from the creatinine also it can form by removal of water, or from the creatine phosphate by the removal of PI and the hydrolysis. It is removal of water, it forms the creatinine, which is then excreted in the urine. So the overall pathway is like this. Glycine combines with arginine to form the guanidinoacetate. Then guanidinoacetate on methyl transferase enzyme acting, and SAM is the methyl donor and forming the creatinine. And creatinine is converted to creatine phosphate by the action of creatine kinase, and creatine phosphate is again converted to creatinine, that is removal of PI and water, and it's producing creatinine, which is the anhydride of creatine and excreted in urine. So the creatine and creatine are clinically important substance. Blood level of both are constant as long as the muscle mass is not affected. So it is present in the muscle, so the level may be constant for an individual if the muscle mass is ready. So serum creatine level is normally 0.7 to 1.4 milligram deciliter. That is an important question. One word question came, 0.7 to 1.4 milligram. The estimation of serum creatinine is important. Renal function test. You have done it in your practical class. So serum creatinine estimation is a renal function test. So creatine is an anhydride of creatine formed by spontaneous cyclization of creatine, and serum creatine level is 0.2 to 0.6 milligram, but the creatinine level is 0.7 to 1.4. More important is the creatinine, which is used as a renal function test. Then urine contains only very minimal of creatine, and the creatine excretion is 1 to 2 grams per day. That also you are done in the normal constants of urine, where the creatinine is excreted in the urine. Next product of important is synthesis of heme. Glycine condensed with the succinyl coenzyme to form the delta aminolevulinic acid. Delta aminolevulinic acid serves as a precursor for the heme synthesis. So succinyl coenzyme plus glycine in presence of ALA synthase, which is the rate limiting enzyme in the heme synthesis, forms the delta aminolevulinic acid or ALA. So that is an important product for the synthesis of heme. Then it is glycine is used as a conjugating agent. Actually, that is not a product, but it is an important function of glycine, where you can see bile acids are conjugated with glycine, and you can see that cholic acid plus glycine form the glycocholic acid, and chenodeoxycholic acid plus glycine form the glycochenodeoxycholic acid. Then there is detoxification of benzoic acid to hippuric acid. For that, glycine is used. Benzoic acid is used in food preservatives. So if it is in excess quantity in our body, it has to be metabolized and removed from the body. So it is converted to hippuric acid by the glycine. Benzoyl glycine is called the hippuric acid. So here you can see benzoic acid plus glycine. It is forming the hippuric acid and excreted in the urine. Now another product of important function is the synthesis of glutathione. It's a tripeptide and it is very important, and it is formed from glutamic acid, cysteine and glycine. So three amino acids used is glutamic acid, cysteine and glycine. It's a gamma glutamyl cystinyl glycine. Chemical name is the gamma glutamyl cystinyl glycine. So how it is formed? Glutamate plus glycine in presence of the gamma glutamyl cysteine synthase utilizing one ATP forms the gamma glutamyl cysteine. Then one more molecule of ATP is used and the glycine is added to the gamma glutamyl cysteine to form the glutathione by the glutathione synthase enzyme. So finally glutathione is formed. So this again the same picture where two molecules of ATPs are used. Glutamate combines with the cysteine to form gamma glutamyl cysteine. Then one glycine is added to form the gamma glutamyl cysteine glycine or the glutathione, which is the tripeptide. So some functions also there: maintenance of RBC membrane integrity, and it is amino acid transport. It is used, that is in the Meester cycle, and preservation of active site of some enzymes which contains SH group, then involved in the phase 2 conjugation reactions in detoxification, and it reduced glutathione also have a coenzyme role. So many are there. You can mention if one or two when you are writing the synthesis and all. Now next important product is the synthesis of serine. Serine can be synthesized from glycine and glycine can be synthesized from serine. So serine can be synthesized by serine hydroxymethyl transferase enzyme using N5N10 methylene tetrahydrofolic acid. Then the most important function of glycine is the synthesis of collagen protein, and it is every third amino acid of collagen is glycine. You have studied the extracellular matrix where the collagen structure and all. You might have noticed that every third amino acid is glycine because it can fit into the groove or bend where the other polypeptide can have a twisting around that. So 33% of collagen is formed by the amino acid glycine. So now we'll pass on to the metabolic disorders of glycine. The first one is glycinuria. It is a rare disorder, and a very high amount of glycine is excreted in urine. So there will be something wrong with the reabsorption of glycine from the renal tubule. So the defect here is the a defective renal reabsorption of glycine from the kidney. So it is characterized by increased tendency for the formation of oxalate renal stones. So it is producing oxalate, and that will be deposited in the kidney, producing renal stones, renal colic, pain, etc. So glycinuria, glycine are lost in the urine. Second type of disorder is non-ketotic hyperglycemia. Here glycine level is increased in blood, urine and CSF. So the blood level of glycine is increased here. The defect is in glycine cleavage system. You have studied the catabolism where the glycine cleavage system is the one main mechanism of catabolism of glycine. So it produces severe mental retardation and seizures, etc. The treatment is intake of diet free of glycine. So diet restriction is the only method. Then another important question is the primary hyperoxaluria. It came for university once. If you are asked to write about that, you can separately write about the primary hyperoxaluria. It is a disorder, inherited disorder of the glycine metabolism. It is characterized by increased urinary oxalate excretion, normally up to 50 milligrams per day, but in this case up to 600 milligrams per day. And oxalosis is also observed. It's an autosomal recessive disorder. Oxaluria is due to the increased production of oxalate. So how it is occurring? A failure to catabolize glyoxylate, that is the main thing, and defect in the, due to the defect in alanine glyoxylate aminotransferase. We have studied from the synthesis part, that is glyoxylate is one source for the synthesis of glycine by the glyoxylate aminotransferase enzyme using alanine as the amino group donor. But if it is defective, glyoxylate cannot be converted to glycine, so instead it will be converted to oxalate, and that will be forming excreting. So oxalosis can occur. So here the defect is in protein targeting, that is protein targeting defect, this disease. So it is due to the deficiency of alanine glyoxylate transaminase. Glyoxylate is unable to convert into glycine but converted to oxalate. Due to the defect in protein targeting, usually the enzyme alanine glycolate transaminase is present in the peroxisomes of the cell, and then it may have the action. But if it is due to the protein targeting defect, the enzyme is present in the mitochondria. So if the enzyme is inactive in the mitochondria, and that leads to the primary hyperoxaluria. Oxalate stones are produced, and oxalosis also is there. So calcium oxalate deposit occurs in the extrarenal tissue also, that is heart blood vessels and muscles also. So there are oxalosis, oxalaturia, etc. in primary hyperoxaluria. That is due to the defect of protein targeting, and due to that there is a defect in the alanine glycolate transaminase enzyme. So this enzyme is usually present in peroxisome, but due to the protein targeting defect, it is present in the mitochondria where it has got no action. It is inactive. So it is not able to convert the glycolate to glycine. Instead, the glycolate go to another pathway where oxalate is produced. So you can see here glycolate is converted to glycine by the transaminase enzyme where alanine and glycolate is combining. But when there is a defect in this enzyme, this may convert it to oxalate, or it may go to the other pathway. So next important metabolic disorder is the type 2 primary hyperoxaluria. It is a milder condition due to defect in the activity of cytoplasmic glyoxylate oxidase. So this causes urolithiasis. So here you can see that is glyoxylate oxidase is there. So it is cytoplasmic glyoxylate oxidase is defective. Principles of management of hyperoxaluria. So there is increased water intake to increase the oxalate excretion. So you have to drink plenty of water so that excretion of oxalate can be increased. Then minimize the dietary intake of oxalate. Oxalate containing foodstuffs has to be minimized, that is leafy vegetable, fiber containing vegetables, etc., which are rich in oxalate. So you have to minimize the usage of that type of vegetables. So restrict the intake of leafy vegetable, beetroot, tea, cocoa, etc. So this finishes our revision in glycine metabolism. Okay, so study well and write. If you are asked to write about the special products, mention all the products' importance according to their importance. That is, you can write purine, heme, creatine, glutathione, etc. first, and the pathway of synthesis also you have to mention through a flow chart. And disorder also, important disorder is the primary hyperoxaluria.